Since the last video, I made a couple of changes, namely that this image used to be like this, right? You remember that? How this image used to cover the whole thing. And I thought, well, I gotta sacrifice a part of it, and the branding on it, the younger version of this guy, even though it's nicer, this is really the known brand, this face, this version of his face. So I kept that and I added my own branding, which I already had these uploads, and all this images is I dragged this image on top of it. You see it's actually this image, but it's just gonna get cut. So it's kind of a crude way, but it was very fast to do. As you see, it takes literally seconds. So even though it's crude, it's maybe just another way to say that is practical. So we've got this image. Now, is this the best designed brand ever? No, because in a sense, he and I were looking in different directions. It actually would be better if his head was tilted towards me and my head was tilted towards him. It can be done. And I don't have to have any great design skills because these are rectangles and squares. All I can do is, I'm on a Mac, I can take a screen grab, 2 screen grabs of these 2 pictures and literally replace them. So on the Mac, it's Control-Alt-4, and I can essentially take this, it saves, then I'll take the other image, it's going to save also, and then I'm going to get rid of these 2 images, and I'm going to get rid of this text. And I'm just going to paste the images right back. So I'm going to upload these 2 images. I just took them, this and that. It's going to take a second to upload. And then I drag these images back together. And now it's a little better because now it looks like our heads are kind of tilted towards each other. There's unity in the design. Also, I'm using this red background with these little white dots. That's a strategy. I want the image to be brighter. So we have a lot of things going here. We have the branding of this artist, my branding for my own personal brand, because this is going on my YouTube channel, and I want my brand also to start growing, and I want my videos to be recognized so that if people like it, I want them to be able to easily find more of my videos on YouTube when they browse during other times or other days. So making sure they recognize my face is very important. And it's red, so it's a very eye-catchy color. And we have a little bit of space to add text right here. The only problem is, again, there are going to be things on the right side of the YouTube thumbnails, like time, like some options, so they might interfere with the text. Let's see how it comes out. The text can be relatively simple, but things are never that simple. In our case, the problem with the text is going to be that we have too little space for too many words that we want to add. That's always kind of seems to be a problem, at least for me. I like words. So, the nice thing is that it's going to read well across most of this, right? Like his hair kind of is the same color, black color, but we can play around with colors of the text. But for now, we could add text. The amount of text I want to add is something like this. You see, I have a problem. I want to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words in here. I really only have space for 3 words, so I have to choose. And this is something where I don't exactly know the answer, or another way to say that is there are multiple good answers. And interestingly, there are multiple bad answers. So the name of the song is Georgian Song. That's important. The other important thing is it's translated to English. So let's say instead of translated, it will be in English, so that we just save space. And let's see if we can do something like this. Instead of and, we're just going to use the %. So now it's kind of interesting in English and rewritten. Now it is going to get a little bit blocked by those things on the right side. So I'm going to stretch it out a little bit so that if it does get blocked, less of it gets blocked. So there's some pros and cons here. So now, is this thumbnail perfect? Not at all. Does it have a lot of great elements? Yes, it does. Let's use it. And actually, before we do that, I had a great idea just now. Because I wanted to have more text, and I can have more text, I figured out how to have more text. I can put more text across the top in some color if I find it that is going to work well with this background on the artist's head. And I can either put it across his bottom or his forehead. It will look weird either way, because the main problem is that it's going to block his head. If I put his head down, that's worse because we're cutting off his head, so we definitely don't want to do that. And we could kind of cut off his forehead, but we also don't want to do that. In this particular case, it's just, he's meant to take up the whole thing. So we could have a smaller subheading, and maybe there we could say Georgian song. So we'll say Georgian song. Now we'll put it somewhere like here. It's really going to look weird here because it looks like his hair is Georgian song. So it's just a design problem. So we'll put it here. What I'm looking for is a little bit of space that has a uniform background color, so we can find a color for this text that will read nice and be easy to read as well. And maybe it actually should come here so that it's part of this Georgian song. I think this will not be so terrible. We're cutting off his head a little bit. So really what we're doing here is, we're working with pros and cons. So let's try to figure out the colors for this. And because I'm not a designer, there's going to be some ridiculous trials and errors here. None of these colors were great, so I took this okay one that was blue. Now, here's a trick. You see how the letters are very skinny looking? What we can do is bold it. And ironically, it started looking better if it was in black. So we'll kind of go back to having black color. And so now the text is not so big, not too intrusive. It kind of is still a little bit not sitting there right, but maybe like that. The design is not perfect here. I really don't want to cut off his head. Here it's too high. So the decision here will be to just not cut off his head. So we'll have this Georgian song in English and rewritten. Perfect. So we're saying everything we want to say. Mostly it's not going to get blocked by the YouTube options or time. All the branding is here. All the eye-catchy parts are here. Perfect. We're ready to set it live.